All right, guys, Vivek's walking in here, so let's make them feel welcome here in Plymouth County, guys. Give it up for them.
Good to be back. Good to see you guys. How'd you get up there? I like that. That's good. That's good. Last time we did the ice cream shop, but today's our pizza ranch day. I think we're going to 6 pizza ranches today, so that's a new record. I want to have an open conversation. We don't do that enough in this country, actually. We have this culture of fear that has spread across this country like an epidemic. Fear of losing your job, fear of your kids getting a bad grade in school, fear of becoming an outcast in your own community. And that culture of fear has sucked our free speech culture out of the United States of America. And so, you want to know how we're going to get this country back? I'll tell you. It is by all of us starting to speak the truth in the open again. And that's what I'm going to do here to kick this off. And then we'll open this up and have a conversation. My parents came to this country 40 years ago, no money, in search of opportunity. And in a single generation, I have gone on to found multiple successful companies, multi-billion-dollar businesses. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, who is a throat surgeon at Ohio State, where she's caring for cancer survivors. That's where she is today. She'll be here for the first 2 weeks of January with me, taking off from that. But raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. I'm worried that that American dream isn't going to exist for our 2 kids in their generation unless we all step up and do something about it. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis right now. Faith, patriotism, hard work, family. These things have disappeared only to be replaced by these new secular religions of wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, depression, anxiety, fentanyl, suicide. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. And I think that I see a Republican Party now that has grown lazy. That's why I'm in this race. A Republican Party that's grown lazy to just criticize the other side's vision. The other side will fill that vacuum with their own poison. Race, gender, sexuality, climate. And we're sitting here complaining about that vision, but without offering our own alternative vision of what we actually stand for. Individual, family, nation, God. That beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to actually stand for something. We can't anymore just be the party that is running from something. I am in this race to start leading us to something. To our vision of what it means to be an American today. What does it mean to be a citizen of this nation in the year 2024? To me, it means we believe in the ideals of 1776. Ideals like merit and the pursuit of excellence. The idea that you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. To me, it means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. That is why I've said we will use our own military to secure, yes, our own southern border and our northern border too. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, not the deep state and the managerial bureaucracy that's running the show today. You want to drain the swamp? Here's how we do it. Fire 75% of the federal bureaucrats by the end of my first term. That much we will get done. Half of it by the end of the first year. If I can't work for you for more than 8 years as your next president, which is a good thing, by the way, neither should any of those federal bureaucrats reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of civil service protections. That's how you drain the swamp. Shut down government agencies that shouldn't exist. From the FBI to the ATF to the CDC to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to the U.S. Department of Education. We actually have to be willing to shut them down. Don't start with last year's budget as the baseline and try to massage it around the edges. No. Start with 0 as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary. Zero-based budgeting. That's how you fight the national debt so these kids won't have $200,000 per person of somebody else's accumulated national debt on their shoulders. That's what it requires to drive change in this country. That is the war that I will wage as your next president. Not some foreign war in Iraq, Afghanistan 2.0, which is modern Ukraine or worse. The war I will wage is on our own shadow government right here in the United States of America. That is the war we need to win. To get there, we need elections we can trust and believe in this country. Single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued voter ID to match the voter file, and yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. That's not too much to ask. That's not controversial. That's common sense. These aren't black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even really Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. Not really. This is deeper than that. These are American ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country. And I believe deep in my heart that those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. It's on the back of our coins. You can see it etched in every one. It says, E pluribus unum. That means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways that we're really the same as Americans. And here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by doing what I said at the very beginning. By all of us. Not just me. All of us. Starting to speak our minds in the open again. Say in public what you'll say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think. That's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Speaking the truth, not just to the Democrats on the other side, but to our own side, right here in the Republican Party, when necessary, too. That's what it's going to take. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate in this race who can even touch certain topics. To tell you that the CO2 pipeline making its way across half this state, using eminent domain to seize and use the land of innocent farmers, violating their private property rights, is unconstitutional, illegal, and will end on my watch. To tell you that it is based on a climate change agenda that, yes, I'll say it, absolutely is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. To tell you that, even worse than that, they're using it to let China catch up to the United States of America. To tell you that Ronna McDaniel, the failed chairwoman of the RNC, needs to resign because we become a party that is led by losers. To tell you that I will pardon every peaceful protester from January 6th because that's the right thing to do for this country, even if it's not a fashionable thing to say in the Republican Party. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate who's able to say these things to you. Every politician dances to the tune of their biggest donor. It's a fact. And in my case, that biggest donor is me. I'm not going to dance to somebody else's tune. I'm not a circus monkey. I'm not going to be a pawn on a chessboard. I'd rather lose this election and speak the truth than to win by playing some political snakes and ladders. But that decision doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, the people of this country. So I'm asking you to do your part on January 15th. You got a choice to make. If you want somebody who's going to get in there and speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's at least going to speak the truth to you. That's what we're doing every day. It's what we're doing today. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family isn't a bad word. It is the best known form of governance to mankind. Capitalism isn't something we need to apologize for. It is still the best system we have left to lift us up from poverty. Not crony capitalism, but the real thing. There's 3 branches of government in the United States of America, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That's what American exceptionalism is all about. And that's what we are going to revive to save this great nation. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. I love that flag, young man. And tell me, how old are you?
10.
You're 10? Do you have a question? Okay, well, I just like being patriotic. That's good. I'm teaching my son the Pledge of Allegiance. Can you say, you know the Pledge of Allegiance? Did they say it in your school?
We homeschool.
Homeschool. Good. Well, I hope you say it in that school. That's good. Oh, it's good to see you again. Good to see you. Well, thank you. I'm proud of you, young man. Thank you for being here today. Wave that flag for us. Let's see it. There he is. There you go. Well done. Thank you. I want to open this up, and I sit across the table from Xi Jinping in a year and a half, guys, so I can handle it. Don't worry. Give me the hard ones. And you guys have a decision to make in about, whatever it is, 20, 25 days. Maybe it's less than that. 19 days. Time's flying. So give me the hard ones. I'll volunteer one out if it's on folks' minds. Would you all be interested in hearing about my faith?
Yes.
Is that something that's okay? Because I find that that's important to people. It's important to me, but sometimes get the questions privately and let's have it in the open. So I'm Hindu. Different from the traditional faith background of people who have run for U.S. president in the past. But I'll tell you a word about my faith, because it's what guides me to this journey. My faith teaches me there's one true God. That God puts each of us here for a purpose. That it's our moral duty to realize that purpose, to use our God-given gifts. Each of us has our God-given gifts, and it's our duty to use those gifts to do what's right in the short time we're given. God works through us in different ways, but we're still equal because God resides in each of us. That's the heart of my faith. I'm grateful to my parents. They're the ones who instilled that in me at a young age. You leave it a little bit in your teenage years, but I came back to it as an adult. And we're raising our kids in the same tradition My parents gave us a very traditional upbringing. Not what you call a slightly traditional, but a very traditional upbringing. That family is the foundation. Marriage is sacred. My parents' telling of it, it's between a man and a woman. Adultery is wrong. Divorce isn't some option you just pick off a menu of preferences when things go wrong. That the good things in life involve a sacrifice. It's not just about this life. It's about eternal life. Honor your parents. Respect your family. That's the heart of the background I was raised in. And so when I got to St. X High School, St. Xavier in Cincinnati, and I read the Ten Commandments for the first time in ninth grade, we're making our way through the Old Testament. What do they say? There's one true God. Don't take his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath. Honor your parents. Don't kill. Actually, that was important to me too. It's where my pro-life views come from. Don't kill, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't commit adultery. Don't covet. It didn't feel like I was reading those statements of our values for the first time. And it's a bit unfashionable today to talk about things like the Ten Commandments or to talk about the shared values of this country. It feels foreign almost at times. You go to the local DEI training session at a company or see what they're teaching your kids in many public schools. Yes, it could feel like foreign values, but they're not foreign to most of us. They're not foreign to this country. And so, yes, is my faith background a little bit slightly different than most presidents or most people run for president? Absolutely. But will I stand for those shared values, the shared values this country was founded on? And stand for it for all Americans, even if people of many different faith backgrounds, to say we share these values in common, and they're the values that this nation was founded on, Judeo-Christian values. Yes, I will. In fact, it's my responsibility to do that, especially as a young person. I'm 38. I'm the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. And I think it's my job to make faith and family and patriotism and hard work cool again, actually, for the next generation. And I think we could do that. And I think the top job of the next president isn't to be a pastor. That's the job of the pastor. But the top job of the president is to swear an oath to the Constitution and to keep it. And that includes the First Amendment, which includes free speech, but it also includes religious liberty, something that we haven't really enjoyed in this country, that supposedly is protecting us against the tyranny of the majority. It's created a new tyranny of the minority. That's what this climate cult is about. That's what the LGBTQIA plus cult is about. It's about a tyranny of the minority, new religions, really, that have been established as the state religion, but in the name of secularism. And so I think it takes a president who will understand that, reach the next generation, and frankly reach people of multiple faith backgrounds to say, these are the values that this nation was founded on, and I will swear an oath to the Constitution and keep it. Actually, core teaching of my faith is that we don't get to choose who God works through. God chooses who God works through. We get a little bit further in that semester to the book of Isaiah, where God chose Cyrus, a Gentile, all the way in Persia, to lead the Jews back to the promised land. It's not our choice who God works through. That's God's choice. And to bring it back to policy here for a second, that's what draws me to this race. I think it's going to take a president now more than ever who, yes, is an outsider, comes in with sharp elbows, is willing to break glass, be strong enough to protect our kindness. And I don't think an existing flimsy politician is going to get that done. Yes, it's going to take that outsider, and I bring that, and let's be honest, Trump brings some of that too, and has brought some of that. But also an outsider who knows and deeply understands the laws and the Constitution of this country. And those two things don't usually go together. You have the law academic type over here, you'll have the business guy over here, but those two things don't usually go together. That's what gives me my sense of duty, obligation, to see this through for our country. It's going to take a president who has both of those things to lead us to victory in this war, and we are in a war right now in our country. And anyway, that's a big part of how my own faith guides me to this journey, and I did want to take an opportunity to share that with all of you, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. Take a couple of questions, too, if you guys have any before we leave. Yep.
You want me to stand up?
Hey, either way's fine. Whatever you're comfortable
So
with.
you don't believe anybody's above the law, correct?
That's correct.
So would you end qualified immunity then?
When I end qualified immunity, so we have to apply it evenly. Right now, we have qualified evenly for prosecutors, but not for cops. Right? And so I think that cops have to be able to do their job without fear of being sued. In principle, could you end it across the board? Sure. But I don't think this world in which the people who are hiding in shielded back offices who are able to bring the case in the courtroom are the ones who get the qualified immunity when many cops are having it stripped away. And at a moment where I do think that we have an epidemic of violent crime across this country, I think that at least applying that evenly and allowing cops to have the same protections that the prosecutors do is a basic place to start. We also have, it's sort of constitutionally codified in certain areas too, so where you need an amendment to change it, we would need a constitutional amendment to change much of that at the federal level.
So then you're okay with people, or cops violating people's rights then?
I'm not, actually. I'm not. But they're bound by something called the Constitution. So it's one thing to be sued in court for getting money over it. It's another to say that person shouldn't be in that job in the first place and should be punished criminally when they break the law. So the civil lawsuits of saying who can be... This is a really specific question just for everybody else. And it's a smart question. But it's the first time I've gotten it in a long time, so thank you for that. It's a basic thing that says that certain governmental positions, like prosecutors, it's very hard to sue them and collect damages, as in financial damages, if you get prosecuted for the wrong thing or whatever. Right now, what's happening is they're rolling back qualified immunity for cops. Many cops on the streets in cities then have to be worried whether they're going to be sued if they're second-guessed after the fact, which many cops are just dropping out. Many young people aren't becoming cops. We have a recruitment deficit across the country over the same reason we have a spike in violent crime. Yet the people who have kept their qualified immunity intact are the prosecutors who don't actually face the same risks on the street that the cops do. So this actually brings you, it's a good question to maybe open up my worldview and just share it with you. We got to apply the same rules to everybody. You can't have it both ways. You want to get rid of qualified immunity, fine. Then the prosecutors are actually going to have to be operating, and the government bureaucrats are going to be operating by the same standards. And many of them are the ones that, you know who prosecutors should be sued for not bringing cases? Soros-backed prosecutors who are refusing to charge people who have actually committed crimes across this country. Maybe they should be able to be sued for that. But so long as they can't be sued for failing to bring those cases, then I think it's fundamentally unfair to tell a cop that he's going to be sued because he made an arrest that somebody else second-guessed. So we can't have it both ways in this country. And I'll give it to a totally different example where I come back to that principle. You can't have it both ways. Right now, employers are in the last 5 years, been firing people willy-nilly for wearing the hat of the wrong presidential candidate to work. Wear a Donald Trump hat. People have been fired from a shipyard in Virginia or otherwise. But then they say, oh, you can't fire somebody for race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or national origin. Well, if you ask me, I'd get rid of all of it. Let the market actually do the work. Strip it all away. We don't need any of these laws. But if you're going to have them, then apply them even-handedly. So I say I would add political expression to the list of civil rights, something I've argued for a long time. To say you can't fire somebody for their own political views. And then people will come back and say, oh, well, that means you don't trust businesses to then make their own decisions of who they hire and fire, and somebody's going to have to hire somebody because they're Nazi? Well, right now that's a system we already have when it comes to, okay, you can't fire somebody because they're black, gay, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Christian, whatever. But somehow you can fire them just because they're an outspoken conservative. And so I think that we need to get to a place where, like, I get smart questions from smart people, but what I say to a lot of my libertarian friends or otherwise is, wake up, folks. We're not living in a fantasy land. You want to strip all of the old protections? Fine. Strip them even-handedly. But I don't have patience for selectively picking and choosing and saying that, oh, somehow we're fine with them discriminating based on your political viewpoint. But if you even dare to have a disparate impact or outcome based on race or gender or something else, somehow we're totally not okay with that in the law. So that's where my worldview is. Apply the standards even-handedly. If we want to be truly liberty-oriented and free across the board without governmental intervention, sign me up. But the reality is that isn't happening, and in the meantime, we have to at least apply the laws even-handedly. And the promises that I make as your next president, you guys ought to know something about me. I don't make conditional promises. I don't make promises that depend on Congress. The promises I make you, I keep as your next president, period. Moving our troops to the southern border, I get to do that as your next commander-in-chief. Moving to the northern border, I get to do the same thing. Ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants. It doesn't apply. That's what the Constitution already says. These are basic things I get to do as your next president. Shut down 75% of the federal government. Rescind the regulations that Congress never actually wrote into the law. If they came from the executive branch, I, as president, will say those were unconstitutional as the leader of the executive branch, and we will not enforce them. So we will drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy in this country. Stop fighting a war in Ukraine that's not advancing our interests. Use our own military resources to protect Americans here in the homeland. These are the things I promised on the campaign trail. Why? Because I can keep those promises without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. And the other stuff is intellectually interesting questions, but those are the false promises that politicians make. I'm not going to play the game of something that's contingent on 500 people in Congress. We live in a moment where the executive branch is broken in this country. And if you have a chief executive that can fix the executive branch, that's where the deep state resides, then our country's best days are still going to be ahead of us. That much I could promise you as your next president I'll deliver on. So thank you for that question. I think it was a good opportunity to share some of my views there. Please.
First off, thank you for holding Ronna McDaniel accountable at your last debate.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And for attacking the media, too. What would you say to a lot of middle Americans who feel betrayed by our own party and by the coasts who take us for granted every single year?
Well, I also want to use this as a chance to open your eyes up right now, even in the context of this election, to what I think is happening. Right, a lot of things that I said or others have said in the last 10 years, that's a conspiracy theory. The virus came from China in a lab? No, it didn't. It didn't come from a lab before it did, right? A Hunter Biden laptop story, you're peddling that nonsense on the eve of an election, turns out it's true. The Trump-Russia collusion hoax, of course it was false before we now know that it was actually made up Hillary Clinton-Russia disinformation, right? And so it's in that context that I'm going to ask you all to open your eyes to a reality, even in this race right now. It's really not about Republicans versus Democrats right now. There's a deeper agenda at work. The permanent state needs a puppet to continue to advance their own agenda, generally keeping forever wars humming, keep the military-industrial complexes bread buttered, and making sure that the people of this country are under sufficient control to be sheep. And a people of sheep can breed a government of wolves. Now, normally that's done through the Democratic Party. But the Democratic Party's brand is a little tarnished right now. And so that same permanent state is equally prepared to use a Republican to advance their agenda too. So I want you guys to do the math on this. Figure out who's been funding the lawsuits to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. Look at who those people are funding now. It's not even Joe Biden. I thought it was going to be Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama for a while. I realized I was wrong about that. Who needs a Democrat when you have a Republican? And so what's playing out in 2024, we got to move beyond just the Republican versus Democrat one-dimensional checkers when the other side, the permanent state, is playing 3D chess. If you think they are going to let Donald Trump, and increasingly I'm thinking even Joe Biden, but Donald Trump at least, get anywhere near the White House again, I want you to open your eyes. We will look back 2 years from now and say this was obvious that they were never going to do it. But today when you're going through the present, it seems like, oh, well, we have to, a lot of people here, but we probably have some in this room of people who are considering supporting Trump again, as many of us did last time around, and I respect the man and his legacy. But they're not going to let him get anywhere near that White House. And our America First movement is bigger than one man. It does not belong to Donald Trump, just as it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, the people of this country. That's who this belongs to. We the people. He rolled over that log and we saw what crawled out. And I respect him for it. But I'm bringing the pesticide. That's what it's going to take. They duped him. They told him you can't fire those civil servants because of civil service protections. Read the law. Those only apply to individual employee firings. They do not apply to mass layoffs. Mass firings are what I'm bringing to the DC bureaucracy. So in this race right now, and I think it's important that people understand this, once you see something, you can't really unsee it. It feels like torture to me to watch what I see as a current trajectory playing out, where we know exactly how this road ends. They're selling us the rope today that they will use to hang us tomorrow. You mark my words, they will not let, by hell or high water, whatever it takes, they will stop at nothing to prevent this man from getting anywhere near that White House. They tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado. I'm doing the right thing. I said I would take my own name off the ballot in Colorado if that's what it takes. And I hoped every other Republican would do the same thing, because that's how you stop the election interference by a cabal of Democratic judges. What do you have, a class of Republicans that says, well, I want to still collect some delegates. So there you go for the Nikki Haley's and the Ron DeSantis' of the world. It's just, I asked them to do it. They didn't do it. But the bottom line is, this is going exactly according to the plan that the permanent state has laid out. They want this to be maybe a race between Donald Trump and the puppet who they want to put up. And I'll let you guys come to the conclusion of who that is. Initially, you might have thought it's Joe Biden. You might have thought it's another Democrat. Maybe it just ends up being another Republican. That's what they want, and then they'll take him out. One way or another, eliminate him from competition. Don't fall for their trap. You owe it, and we owe it to our country and our movement to take America first to the next level, to make sure the people we elect to run the government actually run the government, to shut down the permanent state, to make sure those people we elect owe a sole moral duty to the citizens of this nation, not another one. America First does not come with an asterisk. And so, yes, it is my faith and my sense of duty that guides me to this race. We cannot take the risk of continuing according to the plan they have laid out for us. And so I'm here to ask you for your help on January 15th to do it. Iowa goes first for a reason. Every one of your voices and votes counts as the equivalent of 1 million people. Think about that on January 15th. So everyone, if you come out, you bring 10 people out who aren't in this room, tell them what we talked about today, especially if you think they're going to fall for the same trap. Do not let them fall for that trap. Bring them out, do the right thing, and that is how our America First agenda will outlive Donald Trump. It'll outlive me. It'll hopefully outlive every one of us in this room. This is about the next 2.5 centuries. We got 2.5 centuries into this American experiment. George Washington was the first America First conservative. We owe it to him and his legacy to make sure that we're going 250 years into the future as well. That's that next stop. You want to get the final word, sir? Did you have one too? Okay, we'll give you the final word, sir.
I just wanted to ask real quick, did you notice that they turned on the sparkling trees to welcome you to the Lamar's today?
Oh, they did.
Actually,
I appreciate the warm welcome.
In 1995, I was fortunate to interview John Stockwell when he spoke to the student body at USD. And he told us that for years the media has been swayed so that they can sway our public opinion. Yep. And I was just going to inquire.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have, and I'm certain that's ramped up today.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any advocacy towards modes of communication where we can find the truth?
Yes. So free and open internet is essential, now more than ever. I mean, the mainstream media, I mean, look, I'm not a conspiratorial person. I kind of believe that most of the things that get described as conspiracies are really just a description of incentives hiding in plain sight. That's all they are, right? I mean, this idea of, even just take immigration policy. They excoriated me for saying this in the last debate, that this idea of the great replacement theory, it's just a statement of the Democratic Party's immigration platform. It is, and they've said for years that if they actually achieve mass migration to this country, that will give permanent, lasting electoral majorities to Democrats. It's just incentives hiding in plain sight. But if you state those incentives, that's a conspiracy theorist. Well, you look at just the incentives in this race, too. I mean, the mainstream media has determined to count me out of this. That gets America First candidate that could be the spoiler to their plan out of the way. At the right point, they've already laid the traps, get Donald Trump out of the way, put a puppet up. So in every step of the way, the media plays an enforcer role in all of this. The antidote to that is a free and open internet. I've done more podcasts probably than all presidential candidates in U.S. history combined, largely because podcasts are a recent phenomenon. But that's important, because that goes directly from the person who's speaking to the ears of the person who's listening, which is especially why I'm a dead set opponent of any government tinkering with internet censorship. So I've led the way on this for the last several years. A few years ago, actually, I said this in January of 2021. They said it was a conspiracy theory at the time. Now, I was dismissed by most polite legal academia as being a conspiracy theorist. Now it's widely regarded as exactly what happened. The government is using tech companies to censor speech through the back door that government could not censor through the front door or even through the mainstream media under the Constitution. Well, what do? They threaten them and say, we're going to break you up. We're going to regulate you unless you adopt these one-sided censorship agendas. We're going to give you a special wrapper of immunity protection. Section 230, that's what that's about, if you go out and actually do it. How are we doing on time? I'm going to decide whether I want to go deep on this diatribe. We're okay? All right, so I'll go a little bit deeper than I would usually, because today they've been rushing me along. We've got like 8 events. But if we have a second here, I want to pause for a second and understand the principles. I'll tell you about history, about a case of a bookstore owner. It was a town like this one, actually, in Pennsylvania. Small town America. Bantam Books was the name of the bookstore. He wanted to sell a book, the bookstore owner did. The local prosecutor didn't want him to. He found the book offensive. So he said, take it off. The bookstore owner says, no, I won't. Well, the prosecutor comes along and threatens him and says, hey, I have a different case, some dirt on the guy, whatever it was. I'm going to bring this case against you unless you take the book down. Then the bookstore owner says, okay, fine, I'll take it down. A customer then walks in and says, hey, I want to buy that book. He's planning to buy the book. He says, where is it? Bookstore owner says, I can't sell it to you. Customer sues, goes all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, actually, that was not the decision of a private bookstore owner, not the decision of a private company. It was government action in disguise. Why? Because it was based on a threat. So the Supreme Court said, not so fast. That's exactly what they're doing to tech companies today. Through the back door, threatening them, and then they're saying, oh, it's just the actions of a private company, guys. You conservatives are supposed to like free market behavior. That's not the market. It's not the invisible hand of the market, it's the invisible hand of government. That's unconstitutional. It's illegal. Any government actor who is engaged in it is breaking the law. That's one example. Now I'll give you another example from the railroads. There's a famous case maybe 30, 40 years ago where during the war on drugs, where they wanted to search every passenger, the government did, to sort of see if they had drugs on them. They couldn't do that because of this pesky little thing we call the Fourth Amendment in this country. Thank God for it. Thank our founding fathers for it. Well, what do? They end up telling the railroad companies, you get a special form of immunity that stops you from being sued by the passenger if you, the company, go do search. So we're not doing it as a government, we're just giving a special form of immunity under the state tort laws to do this as a railroad company. Again, the Supreme Court said not so fast. What did the Supreme Court say? That's the government giving them a carrot to do something the government couldn't do directly. That's exactly what they're doing for big tech. That's exactly what Section 230 does. It says the tech company can't be sued for violating state laws that prevent certain forms of online discrimination. So that's state action in disguise. The answer is the Constitution still applies. Why did I take the trouble to go through this history, constitutional history or whatever? It's to share something that I believe is really important to you and to us. Should be important to us in the next president. I think now more than ever, we need a president who actually understands the Constitution. Not talking points served up by a super PAC consultant, which is what most politicians, frankly, in both parties do. Read it from a teleprompter, memorize it, spout out to you the poll-tested talking points. There are times where that works for a U.S. president. You need an implementer. Now is not one of those moments. We live in a 1776 moment right now. The existence of our country is at stake. Thomas Jefferson, he was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. But he was also an intellectual. He understood the why behind it. I think we need a president now more than ever who understands the why. And so when we say big tech censorship, don't even call it big tech censorship. That's not what it is. It's government tech censorship. And once you see that, you realize the right solution isn't like some sort of, knee-jerk reaction. Oh, break up the big tech companies. You're missing the point because the smaller tech companies are doing it too. And so it takes now more than ever a president who understands, even back to that first question, which is a great question, but the why. I mean, try asking that to any other Republican presidential candidate, man, and you're going to get like a stare blanker than that wall in response. And I'm not saying this to be dismissive of any other individual in this race. It's the state of our politics right now. And I think it takes now more than ever a president who understands the principles enshrined in that Constitution to stand for them when the threats to liberty are complex. It's not back what it was in 1980. It's not just big government. It is a hybrid of big government and big business that together do what neither one can on its own. What I call the woke industrial complex, what Mussolini actually referred to as his definition of fascism. The merger of state and corporate power to do what neither could on its own. That's what the central bank digital currency, for those of you who are aware of this, digitizing your dollar. Why? They want the government to be able to wipe it out of your private bank account if you say something the government disapproves of. It's what they tried to do with those Canadian truckers. That's what's going on with respect to the ESG movement in this country, using our own investment accounts to do through the back door of banks and other financial institutions, voting for emissions caps and racial equity audits in America's companies, using your 401k accounts to do it, that they couldn't get done through the front door. We Republicans, we've been a half step behind or more at every step of the way. And it's because it doesn't work if you have puppets that are reciting yesterday's talking points when the left is already at tomorrow's frontier. So now more than ever, we are in a war. And I call it a war because there's no middle ground here between meritocracy and group quotas. You cannot have both. Between free speech and censorship, you cannot have both. Between American exceptionalism and American apologism, you cannot have both. We're at a fork in the road. We have to make a choice. And I think we need now more than ever a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this war. Somebody who knows that the hour is late. We're not working with a lot of time here. Somebody who isn't bought and paid for as a pawn of the, frankly, bipartisan donor establishment that plays these politicians like puppets. But now more than ever, somebody who actually thinks independently from the next generation with fresh legs like Thomas Jefferson to lead the new generation of Americans. 2024 is 1776. That's what I believe. That's what's at stake. And if you all do your part, that's what I'm asking for. It's done this way for a reason. There's no social media algorithms in the air between us. We're not in the metaverse yet. There's no TV screens between us. This is how elections are designed to be decided. The Iowa caucus is first for a reason. Every one of your voices is 1 million people showing up that day on January 15th. Imagine, bring 10 more people here. Tell them what we talked about here. Bring them on January 15th, too. If you all do your part, then we don't have to be this nation in decline anymore. We don't have to be at the end of the ancient Roman Empire. I think as a nation right now, we're really just a little young, actually. Going through our own version of adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. And when you view it that way, it makes sense again, actually. You go through your adolescence, you go through that identity crisis. You lose your way a little bit. We do some stupid things, many of us did. But we are stronger for it when we get to our adulthood on the other side. So no, I don't think we have to be that nation in decline. I think we still can be a nation in our ascent. I'm not going to be the guy who walks in here and tells you that it's morning in America, guys, because it's not. But it can be. I'm not going to tell you, especially young people, that the American dream is alive and well when you have $200,000 of national debt on your shoulders that you didn't sign up for. The American dream is not alive and well. It is alive and hanging on for life support. But it can be. If you all do your part, I promise you, my wife Apurva and I and our family, we will do ours to make sure for our two sons and their generation that this is still the country where no matter who you are, or where your parents came from, or what your skin color is, that you will get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your minds at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help, on January 15th, that is what we will revive to save this great nation. So that our best days, not in some cheesy politician way, but in a true way, so that we can make sure that our best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming today, guys. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. I love that. Get up here. I want to take a picture of you. Thank you.
That's good. Get over here.
All right, thank you everyone so much for coming. We have loads of pizzas in the back, so please help yourself. While you're doing so, please go ahead and fill out a caucus card. It's the best way to get involved with the campaign and become a precinct captain. What we do is we'll supply a script for you, caucus night, and it's pretty simple. Just help us communicate with your neighbors and friends. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, way back when. Yeah, good to see you guys. You are. Oh, that's awesome. Are they here? Right here. Oh, man, thank you. You're at the Naval Academy now? Thank you, man, for your service, brother. Both of you? Two brothers, Naval Academy. Thank you, brother. We will. We're not going to stop till we get the job done. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jake, good, sir. Can I take the picture for you? I'm happy to do it. And then Nick jump back in there. Give him a ball. All right, less hours. Thanks for your service, guys. Yeah, okay. Proud of you. Keep it up. Happy New Year in advance. Thank you. You guys live here? Or you're...
Yeah, we're Sioux City.
You're from here, so... But I don't know if you're going to be still around during the Iowa caucus or not. You're back up there before then. You do your job. You do your job. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Counting on you. If you're here, come out for us. Appreciate it. It's good to see you, man. Jake, good to see you. Have we met before? No. Good to see you, man.
I love what you're doing.
Good to see you, man. How old are you?
21.
21?
Yep.
It's your generation, man. You got to step up and be heard.
I believe in you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Come out on January 15th and bring a lot of young people. Shock the system. Whatever.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your service and time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What's your name? Lance. I love this place. Thank you. My boys enjoyed it last time we were walking around a lot of ice cream shops. So, thank you, Lance. I appreciate it. You guys like a photo?
Yeah, can I get a photo?
Yeah, absolutely. What's
And
your
my
name?
brother's Brett. My brother's like field sport, so I want to get pictures.
Oh yeah, good for him.
Yeah, no, like that.
Did he do the right? He's
sporting that.
Oh, he did? Oh, okay. I thought because the lower court, I thought actually. Not. Oh, he did? All right. Well, hey, brother, I respectfully disagree with him. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Spread the message. And will you live around here?
Yes, sir.
Spread the message.
I did Obama last time, so I gotta get back.
You got to get back to
Yeah,
the
yes,
Republican
sir.
caucus,
I'm not
brother.
gonna-
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you.
Right here, you guys. Got it. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for that.
yes, yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Spread the message. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Easier for you to get out there, sir.
Excuse me.
What's that hat?
I enjoyed it. It's a hootie.
Who are you? I don't know.
All right, cool.
Good to see you, man. What's your name? Mike. Picture?
Sure, we'll get you a picture. I'll get your information. Okay, how about that, Michael?
Sounds good.
Got it.
Thank you. Take it easy. And you live around here? Yeah. Spread the message up there, buddy. Hey, good to see you. How are you? Yes. Let's do this. Absolutely.
I was trying to tell you guys to come up here with my phone so I can get a picture.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Getting everyone's signatures? Or? Good. Thank you. It's good to see you. Proud of you for taking the effort to go homeschool. And I think if we shut down the Department of Education at $80 billion, we should flow back to all parents to choose their homeschooling. Yeah, that homeschooling included in parental choice, including the $80 billion budgetary return. It's not supported enough. I think it should be. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's the second autograph we got. Can I see it? Who's that?
Aileen, I think I met your friend at another pizza ranch this morning. Gloria? Yeah, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Spread the word for us in this community. If you're open to even signing up and being a racing captain or speaking at the caucus, we would love that. Okay, that's okay. Just tell people in private too. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You want a photo?
First of all,
Yeah. Photo? Sure. Oh, thank you. They're very comfortable.
I really appreciate it.
Well, I have no problem with that.
To me, and I'm a different, I have a different, I'm a Protestant,
Yep.
but it's
Very
so
important to me too. We
Yes.
share the same values.
Yes, and I was not a Christian until I was 16.
62? Really?
You're never too late.
What were you before, or non-believer?
No,
That's
I
a
don't
long
want to
story.
go in.
Long story,
Yes.
but okay, good.
Yes, and
Well, how old are you now, if you don't mind?
77.
You're 77. Oh wow. Okay, good. I was thinking it's not long ago. Thank you for sharing that, and also be grateful if you pray for our family and for our country and in this journey. That's the ultimate protection.
We have only known each other for about a year or so.
Aileen. Oh really?
Yes, and we live 16 steps away from
Amazing.
And, yeah,
Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
You want your picture with
I think you want our photo as well.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Right here. Smile, ladies. That's a great photo.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
All the best. We'll do our part. I promise you we'll do our part.
Yes, I'm so happy I came.
Spread the message for our country. Thank you. Take care of you. Thank you. Hey.
I just want to say I appreciate your honesty.
Thank you, brother. What's your name?
Matt. So this is Tyler, too. Who wants to be on?
All right.
Come on in, brother. Good to see you, buddy. You're in high school, or?
When you're ready. All right. Good photo, guys.
How old are you? 14. Yeah, and you, man?
I'm 22.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it. Come out to the caucus. You can come out and bring a lot of people. It'll make a big difference. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot. Hey.
I'm memorizing your talking points.
Thank you, so you can spread them. We're counting on you, man.
You got it.
Did you sign up with us for a precinct captain?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
My fourth event.
But you've been, you're going to speak first at the caucus? You could?
I could try.
Because you actually know that.
I could try.
Thank you. Oh, good. Amazing, guys. Thank you. Sarah, he knows the points.
Oh, yeah.
He knows them well.
He's a good one.
Yeah, so we could. Good to see you. Good to see you again.
You got it? Sorry. You're good. Good job.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, guys. I think we're going to head this way. Thank you. All right. Yes?
I love it. Not bad
Especially if he's going to Trump when he was actually president of this country. We have time to lead this country forward. Yeah, for some of us, we have to draw policy contracts. We have disagreements. But I don't know for somebody if they're not going after him. Thank you for saying that.
I mean, that was, and I forgot to mention that.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah, let's do it. Thank you, guys.
Turn around.
Walk right here. 1, 2, 3. I got a punch.
Thank you. Can you get one for us too?
So
Just like gonna get one for us. You build that
One more.
flag.
All right, guys. One more. Get that flag up in there.
that phone,
Okay.
okay?
All right. Look right here for me, guys. That's a great photo. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you have 3. All three
These
years?
are all three of mine.
And- okay, good. Homeschooling them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's get out of the way. Let's get out of the way.
I love your camera.
Thank you for playing the piano and singing for us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. My
Yeah.
identity tour was important
And
to
this is
my
my
life.
daughter who's at Brown Medical School.
Oh, you are. It's good to see. My brother went there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's good to see. What's your name?
Michael.
Michael. Good to meet you. Thank you.
Thanks for addressing millennial problems.
Yeah, somebody's got to step up for the next generation. The national debt and avoidance of wars are big on that list. You guys live around here? Lamar?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
For the
Okay,
holiday.
you guys are here? This is very nice.
Yep.
Spread the message here. We'd love to have you at the caucus, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Have a nice trip here. I visited my brother a couple times. It's nice up there. Yeah, it's a good, beautiful place. So I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
I like all your policies. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Come out to the caucus on January 15th. Thank you. Can we take a picture here? Thank you. Yeah, let's take a picture.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you being here, guys. Thanks for being here.
Have you considered any running mates at this point?
Yeah, we have. We have a short list. I would say I'll give you one who's not on the list because he's not qualified for the natural born standard. But and Elon Musk would be the tiebreaker that I would think about. Cut through the bureaucracy.
Put your smile.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
I only got a few questions for you, so this should be relatively quick.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn on this. Let me know if it's a little bit too bright for you.
It's okay.
Perfect.
Ready?
Get this really set up. Perfect. Alrighty, so if you just want to go ahead and look at me, not the camera.
Yes.
So my first question for you is just going to be talking about the Iowa caucus, just getting your thoughts on it and how you think you're going to be doing.
I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus. I think most of our supporters are not polled, and I think we're going to have a major shock to the system on January 15th. I also think it's beautiful that this system is the way it is. Iowa goes first for a reason. Because if this was all decided by who buys the most advertisements, a guy like me wouldn't have a chance. But this is about the will of the people. Many of them are really take their responsibility seriously, come into multiple of these events. And I think we'll bring in many of them along in this late phase as they've gotten to know me through the course of this process. And so I'm confident that we're going to stand for the right principles. I'm the only candidate in this race who can even take on certain issues, from the CO2 pipeline to the corruption in the Republican Party itself, to the end of war in Ukraine, to pardoning peaceful protesters on January 6th. I'm the only candidate who's able to take on some of those issues and more directly. And I think voters are hungry for that level of honesty.
Now, you said you're very confident. However, according to the Des Moines Register, they did a poll, I believe, in October.
Yeah, the polls are all off. I think many of our supporters are first-time supporters to the Iowa caucus. So I think we're going to deliver. I'm fully confident we're going to deliver a major surprise, a shock, on January 15th. And it's going to be because of the system that we have here, which is not decided by just the people who are polled with landlines or whatever, but by the people who are actually passionate enough to show up, and that's what we're seeing in this race.
And so I'm curious, what if you don't win? What is your plan then, say theoretically?
Well, I think that you don't have to win the Iowa caucus to be the nominee. I think that, look, most of the time, actually, you've had nominees in the Republican Party that didn't win the Iowa caucus. But I'm confident we're going to shatter expectations. My gut instinct is that we're going to win. And for me, it isn't about me. This is about the country. I'm in this out of my sense of duty to this country. My parents came here 40 years ago with no money in search of opportunity. In a single generation, I've gone on to found multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. My wife has lived that same American dream. We want to pass that on to our kids, and I think we have an obligation to this country to do it. That's what guides me. It's my sense of purpose and duty to this country. And I think when you're guided by that, then nothing's going to stop us from doing what needs to be done. Yes, the president needs to get in there and shut down that deep state. Shut down the permanent state, the bureaucracy. That's something I know how to do. I know how to do it better than anybody else in this race. That's what needs to be done for this country. We swear an oath to the Constitution, we're going to keep it. That's why I'm in this race, and I'm confident we're going to go the distance to be successful.
All righty. I don't think I have any other questions for you, but is there anything that I missed that you'd like to talk about?
Look, I think that I'm not going to be the guy who gives fake optimism and says it's morning in America, but I believe it can be morning in America. And when Reagan left office in January of 1989, the thing that he said he was most proud of all the things Reagan could have picked, of getting us out of the Cold War, nearly to the end of the Cold War, of growing the economy, he didn't pick any of that. He said he was proud of reviving our national character. When I leave office after 8 years, after 2 terms in January of 2033, that's what I want to tell the people of this country, that we revived our national character, that we revived who we really are as Americans. And I think that that's something that if I'm able to do that as the next president, and I'm confident I can, especially for that next generation, then actually I am confident that our best days can actually still be ahead of us. And I think it's going to take a leader from the next generation with fresh legs from the outside to actually get us there. And I'm confident I'm the right person for that job.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
One quick photo with Todd, and
Yes.
we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
Mr. Ramaswamy, thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here, brother.
Thank you, Todd. Right here, guys. Perfect. I'll text it to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it
Good to
very
meet
much.
you. Yes, sir.